Hello and welcome again to day 2 of LogiSYM Asia Pacific 2021. And you're with us here in track 2, e-commerce, retail and last mile. And this morning, at least if you're in Singapore or Asia time, we are going to have 3 presentations and 1 panel session all related to this topic of e-commerce, retail and last mile. Now for the first presentation, I'm delighted to welcome Nicolas Cron, who's a senior industry strategist from Yonder. Now, if you were with us last night around 5 o'clock for the LogiSYM Awards, you would know that Yonder came away with the prize for the best supply chain software company. So congratulations again to Yonder, and nice to see we have a representative from the company speaking this morning. So need for advanced supply chain setups. So I think now I can hand over to Nicolas to go ahead with your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you. And good morning, good afternoon, so wherever you are in the region. So as Bob said, my name is Nicolas Cron, and I'm leading the retail strategy for Yonder in the APAC region. So it means that one of my role is really to understand what is happening, on the market, what are the main challenges retailers are facing. What I would like to do this morning with you is to go through the supply chain and what are the imperatives for retailers to change, to transform their supply chain. We are all hearing, digital transformation, need for supply chain, etc. But why? And before to try to understand what retailers should do, what I would like to do with you is let's have a quick look at why. Why this is happening? Why all of a sudden everyone is speaking about changing, transforming the supply chain. And I would like to bring you to a journey, a giant step back, 15 years ago. We are May 20th, 2006. What is happening today? And by the way, iPhone didn't exist at that time. iPhone was launched in 2007. So it means that no website, no mobile website, no website, of course, but not a lot of mobile website, no e-commerce, when you're traveling in the metro, just placing an order on Lazada or whatever. So there's nothing. So the retail was quite simple at that time. Amazon was just starting the operation outside of the US. We are speaking 15 years ago, which is nothing compared to the humanity scale or whatever. 15 years ago was yesterday, was just yesterday. My daughter was going to school at that time. And this is how things have changed, all of a sudden within 15 years, AliExpress didn't exist. AliExpress was created in 2009. Loyalty programs at that time were totally embryonic. You remember all the shoppers having 20, 30, 40 loyalty cards and choosing one retailer or one store because of the loyalty program. Who's doing that today? No one. No one. And at that time, a terrific question. Who are the millennials? Who are they? These guys which were born between 85, and 99. So who are they? What are they doing? How will they impact or not our life in the future? And we'll see later in the presentation that, of course, they are impacting. At that time, you were so happy, and I was so happy to get delivered within 10 days when I order a TV screen, not a flat TV screen, a TV, or whatever, hardline or a book. 10 days. Oh, wow, what a change. That's fantastic. 10 days. Who would accept that today? 4G didn't exist. 4G was 2012, and 4G, I remember in 2012, we said, oh, we can see the we'll be able to see the TV, to see something, video on the phone when connected. That didn't exist. So it means a lot of things, didn't exist at that time, and a lot of things have changed. But one thing was there. The first disruption, the major disruption on the retail happened, not the first, but one of the first. The Katrina cyclone, a typhoon, was happening in the south of US, in Louisiana. That was a massive impact. So remember that it was 15 years ago, when we can say, okay, everyone learned from that. The supply chain learned from that. Remember that the stores have been empty for days, and weeks. So we can say, oh, we learned from that, because 14 years later, a major disruption happened in the world. So just thinking about what was our life 15 years ago. I'm not a fan of yesterday was better. I'm not a fan of that. But I just want to bring you to the point that we have to realize that things have changed at the speed of light. And when we look at the last 18 months, many things have changed. And by the way, who could imagine that Toys R Us were bankrupt? Forever 21, Neiman Marcus in the US were bankrupt. How can we imagine that all of a sudden the shoppers, the millennials, because now they are adults, they are shoppers, or the Gen Z, which is coming now, they are definitely dictating their trends. They want personalization. They want new things, and they put more and more pressure on the supply chain cost. And just take 2 minutes, think about 5 years ago. Could you imagine 5 years ago going in a store to rent a shirt for 2 months? No. Today, this is the reality. Just imagine the impact on the supply chain. I send or I rent a shirt, I have to take it back, to pay back, to what is my cost of sale, how to refurbish, how to reintegrate into my supply chain. This is the reality of retailers today. And by the way, with this COVID-19, with this pandemic, everyone has realized that customers are the key for the future. Without knowing the customer, no future. And it's not a question of should I invest, not invest. It's a question of should I survive or not. I'm very clear on that. And by the way, we are seeing that today. And we are seeing that retailers are really looking at the retailers. And time is the new currency. We have to act very, very fast, because these consumers, they will not wait 10 days, to be delivered for a TV screen. Now it's a flat TV screen. So the good news is the technology is there. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, where it's well used, it's not an artifact of any startup company, but when we bring AI, ML at the heart of the supply chain, we can definitely help retailers to accelerate, and we can really help them to make sure that they will satisfy the customer, because the game is still the same. How should I attract and retain customer? Attracting is easy somewhere, do a massive promotion. But at the end of the day, how to retain this customer, how to make sure that my strategy is customer first. I'm in that business for many, many years, starting with CPG company in Europe, and customer centricity has always been a hot topic, but today this is really crucial. And why is it important, and how should we integrate that into the supply chain? When you look at the complexity of retail, think about 30 years ago. One type of store, one size, 20,000 SKUs in total for the year. That was a great business, single format, etc. But during the last 5 years, when we look at retail, things have changed probably 10 times more than during the last 30 years. We've seen rental coming. We've seen marketplaces. We've seen direct to consumer, now community sales, because this is driven by consumer. Look at Facebook. Facebook has clearly announced that they want to become one of the first retailer on the planet just through the marketplaces. And they are really serious. They are really serious. They are a technology company, and they will have the means, they will have all the material to do that. Look at Amazon. Amazon now is doing private label. Whoa. They are a retailer. They started a logistic company, distribution, and now they are a real retailer. You know, they are opening stores, they are making acquisitions, etc. Nike is doing subscription. Go to the US, you pay $80 a month, sorry, and a family is entitled to get 8 pair of shoes per year for whoever in the family. So these channels are becoming real competitors for retailers, because this is totally out of the traditional retail market. And this complexity is combined with the emergence of new consumer. I already said that millennials have been a fantastic game changer. I don't know if fantastic is the right word, but has been a dramatic, game changer. They were looking for more velocity. They have lack of loyalty. So today, there is no consumer, no shopper going into that brand, that banner, simply because they have the loyalty card. They don't care about getting 1,000 points, etc. And this is a real problem, because the loyalty card is probably one of the best way to understand the customer, because I can get all the T-logs, all the information, and then I can recombine that. Millennials, they are innovation driven. They really expect a very high service. But millennials have been a big disruption in retail. Now, look at Gen Z. Gen Z is now, they are shoppers now for the oldest, but they are social media driven. So it's easy to build a notoriety on the social media, on Facebook, WeChat, whatever, but it's so easy to destroy the notoriety. So it means that retailers have to combine that, how to be present on Facebook without being seen as too painful, and harassing customer. This is always a balance that they have to find. Personalized service for Gen Z. I remember when I was in Europe 15 years ago, when this French car maker Citroën, did the first DS3 fully personalized when you were ordering the car. All the other car makers were saying, these guys, the French, they always have stupid ideas, Today, all the car makers are doing that. All the car makers are doing that. When you look at Uniqlo as an example, fast retailing, the mother company of Uniqlo, they became the first apparel retailer in the world. They overtook Inditex, the Spanish one. Why? Because what Uniqlo is doing, collection for 2 months, renewing all the products, etc. They are moving away, from this traditional 6-month collection in apparel. This is changing. This is personalized. Why I want to buy this shirt with that color, etc. We are really, as the starting point of the made to order. Imagine the impact on the supply chain, how to manage short-term collections, how to manage personalized product. And by the way, when you look at Gen Z, they prefer to rent rather than buying. So it means that everything is going to be rented soon. Not, of course, food, of course. But I mean, you will be able to rent that electronic piece for 2 days, 3 days, a week, a month. And by the way, retailers are really now realizing that the traditional vertical food, so grocery, apparel, softline, everything is blurring because customers, they want to shop. Look at 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven is now launching apparel range with Forever 21 in the US. Family Mart in Japan, they start selling T-shirts and sweatshirts, etc. in a convenience store. How to manage the space, how to manage a different supply chain. These guys, they are heavily specialized in fresh product, in grocery, and all of a sudden, they have to replenish, they have to allocate, they have to think 6 months in advance, etc. So millennials, Gen Z have been and are changing the game. But this is nothing compared to the future one. Gen Alpha, so the first researchers which are coming, is totally crazy. So these guys, they will be born, and they are born with tech. So they will not understand that you have to wait 10 minutes, on the website to make sure that you have the product. And what is interesting is they will really keep the loyalty part important, but they will not be loyal to the retailer. They expect the retailer to be loyal to them. So I mean, if I'm walking in the street with my smartphone, I can order something, goods or whatever, a t-shirt, rice, drink, whatever. And if the solution, if the app is telling me that, yes, this is available, I will never accept that this is not available, because simply the retailers don't have visibility on their inventory. So I really wanted to go through that very short piece of history for the first 15 minutes, because it's really important to understand where do we come from. And I'm sure that for retailers, for all the retailers across the globe, these changes are a real headache. How to go, how to change. And because these consumers, they are asking for more, so we went through that, but more convenience, more experience, more fast order fulfillment. You imagine that today, some retailers are thinking about delivering a good without 2 hours. Here in Singapore, it's easy because it's so small country, so small city. But look at China, look at Thailand, look at Vietnam, look at Australia. Delivering in 2 hours is a real challenge, but this will be a game changer. And these guys born with tech, adapt to Facebook, whatever, they can shift. It's easy. I move from the retailer A to retailer B. So what does it mean for retailers? Consumers are really expecting the retailers to improve their operation in products, in channels, in operation. Looking at one of the key markets in retail, health and beauty, cosmetics. So it's a market, the weight is something like 12-15% of the total retail here in the region. But at the end of the day, it's a huge value generation, etc. So there's a lot of benefits, a lot of margin coming from that market. However, each major brand is releasing an average of 7.2 new products per year. So consider a retailer in that market. They have 15, let's say, big brands. Buy 7 products a year, 90 new products a year. How to manage that? How to make sure I have the product in my stores, but should I have my product in all the stores or just in cities, in countryside, on the coast, etc.? This is the great question, because I cannot get 90 new products per year, because in the meantime, they will not stop 90 other products. How to make the choice? How to make sure that I have this product on my shelves before all my competitors, or at least at the same time? Because if there is a TV campaign, a marketing campaign at the TV, my consumer, they will not understand why I do not have this product. Look at convenience stores. The average in convenience stores is 3 products for each consumer. If I can increase, because I know my customer, to 4 products, I will increase my sales by 30%. It's mathematics, and it's so easy to do that with the technology, but as far as the supply chain is there. Channels, again, in channels, for a customer, there is no channel, there is shopping. I can go in a store, buy in a store, return online. I can do the opposite. UK, as an example, Asda, this big retailer, the former Walmart branch in the UK, you can buy something in store and return during the next grocery delivery at your door. And this is apparel as an example. So for the consumer, the way most of the retailers are working by silos, I have my e-commerce, I have my stores. It makes no sense for a customer. And by the way, we are moving from omnichannel to multi-channel. Operation, cost of salaries are increasing everywhere. And by the way, one of interesting thing coming from the consumer is that, they are happy to shop online, but what they want is also to make sure that if they go in a store, they will face someone. And they are really keen to get personalized service, personal advice when they go in the store. At the end of the day, there has been a test made in the US, in New York, by a retailer, and they put more people in the stores, and they have measured that when a shopper was coming in the store, this is sport goods, they bought 300% more when they were facing a well-trained employee in the store. So they need advice, they want to be there. Now the reality for all the retailers, and specifically here in the region, if they don't offer service in store, they should not be surprised that their shoppers are going online to the big and the large e-commerce player. So just to think about that, how to manage my products, how to manage my channels, and how to make sure that my operations are costing less, are more efficient, are maybe automatized, etc. Because at the end of the day, we should definitely understand that having people in the stores is a game changer. I'm not a fan of zero employee stores. I do not think that we can really have a sustainable business there. So for retailers, they will have to juggle with multiple objectives, and all these objectives, they are totally linked. My assortment has an impact on my return, my fulfillment, my delivery, etc. And they really have to think about all of this, and as one global entity, and thinking about absolutely all the aspects of the supply chain. We have a poll there, and that would be, this is totally anonymous, so we are not going to call you back if you answer that you want to change your warehouse management system. But what I really would appreciate if you could take some time to go to the polls tab and just looking at this different questions. So it's interesting always to understand which are the priorities retailers are seeing in the region, and how they would orchestrate that. It's only one question, but has been divided in two because we cannot put more than 6 different answers to the question. Go there if you can fill the poll. That would be great. In the meantime, there are a couple of questions coming. I will continue to my presentation, and I will answer the question at the end of it. So we've seen the context, and by the way, which are the learnings? Half of Australian retailers, as an example, are still seeing supply chain disruptions. Disruption is not only COVID. Disruption is whatever happened. And we know that the behavior of our consumers is unpredictable, absolutely unpredictable. And how to deal with that? How to deal with something happening in the Suez Canal? When all of a sudden a vessel is there blocking the world trade through this canal. How to react? How to make sure that my products are on the shelves? And by the way, the learnings from COVID are really customer centricity, time, personalization is much more important than what everyone could think. And we strongly believe that going through personalization will increase the value, because people are ready to pay a bit more when it's a personalized shirt, as an example. And personalization can be, not a lot, but at least something which represents my behavior, my mindset, etc. Online business, we said that, so it's not limited to a transactional website. So we really have to think about which are the new sales channel, rental, subscription, made to order. Look at direct to consumer. Do you know that 40% of the largest sport makers are made direct to consumer? Not necessarily online, but companies like Adidas, Reebok, Nike, they do 40% of their business through their dedicated channels to consumer. They don't go through Walmart or other. So at the end of the day, this is a real challenge for the retailers, how to get closer to the customer, how to make sure that I understand them and I deliver the product, etc. One thing is important is unclarity. Unclarity in stores is definitely an enemy. We should be clear on the positioning of the offer, the branch, the assortment, the products. If my positioning is organic product, I should be organic from the walls, the carpet, etc., to the product. There is a nice story. I will not explain that in French, but with a retailer going organic, everything was looking unorganic at all in the stores. They have been bankrupt. So easy, I think today the consumer will not spend time, will not say, okay, they will not forgive to the retailers if they don't have the right positioning. And at the end of the day, what is really coming now is supply chain TCO. I think all the CFOs, all the CEO will be asking soon the CSO to reduce the cost of supply chain, because they have to transfer some money from supply chain to stores to customer facing to marketing, etc. So supply chain is really becoming an area of savings, and it's not necessarily savings, it's reducing the cost to the right level. Even here in the region, we are still seeing retailers doing a lot of things manually. Incredible. So the technology is there, the tools are there to really help. So if we want to achieve that, the business must transform from the silos to a real customer-centric approach. So it means that rather to be buying product, moving product, selling product, delivering product, we really have to put the customer at the heart of the supply chain and to think about the strategy with the customer, to think about the system, the engagement, etc. So in a nutshell, this requires what we call the customer-centric circular supply chain. So it means that today, most of the retailers are really sitting on gold mines. Which are these gold mines? Data. Data is key. Data is the fuel of supply chain, and it's a bit interesting, to understand that many retailers, they are not using that data as they should use, because transforming data into insights is complicated. And the good news is, again, today, the technology is there. We can combine external data. So is it loyalty? Is it T-log? Is it market? Is it influences data? So, everything coming, all the research, etc., with finance, marketing, product data, and to make sure that with all of that, we understand the customer demand. And the customer demand is not only now, based on what did I sell yesterday and will I sell the same tomorrow, is really what is the probability for me to sell that product tomorrow? What is the range, of selling this product tomorrow? Is it linked? Is it related to the weather, to holidays, to school days, to whatever event I didn't necessarily took into account yesterday? And if I take a country like Thailand as an example, will I sell the same in Chiang Mai and in Phuket? No, you will not. Tourists in Phuket, hopefully, and no tourists in Chiang Mai. The weather is not the same, the days are not the same, etc. So customer demand is really now the pillar, the foundation of any supply chain. And customer demand is going to consume data insights, but also produce data insight. That's a concept of supply chain twin. Inventory optimization. Here in Asia, it's interesting to see that overstock is a common problem. We are seeing retailers with 3 times, the normal inventory in the market. So this is something where we have to react, and probably COVID has been one of the reasons. But traditionally, I would say, everyone is taking 10% buffer just to make sure they will not have out of stock. And the CFO is saying, "Hey guys, my working capital is decreasing." Why? Simply inventory. So inventory optimization is a keyword. Efficient operation, how to reduce the cost of operation, how to deliver to the customer. Home delivery is a norm today. Home delivery, you can order. I'm always surprised, ordering for $5 here in Singapore, a good being delivered for free at home. Who is making money? No one. Clearly, home delivery is a loss for almost all the retailers. So they are looking for partnership with Grab, with Deliveroo, etc. Ninja Van here in Singapore, but everywhere in the region. Yesterday, DoorDash, the American company, reported a huge loss because their main business is to be this third-party logistic, to deliver home. Is that business sustainable? I'm not sure. So how to make sure that we are going to decrease the cost of this delivery, because we like or we don't like e-commerce will be 30% of the business by 2025, 2026, depending on the market, depending on the countries. But that will be the forecast, and this is the forecast from all the research companies. And by the way, the customer should be integrated into this supply chain. So it means that we have to understand everything and then have an efficient, low-cost, and autonomous supply chain, which is able to deliver in a very quick way the product at the right place. Is it a store? Is it at the back door? Is it in a locker? Is it in another store, etc.? There's a lot of stories, on that area. And by the way, the keywords for retail supply chain, there are keywords. The first is my supply chain connected to the world, connected to my IoTs? Today, I think for probably 10 years, everyone was saying IoT. No one knew exactly what IoT was. But today, ESL are important. ESL, with the technology, the electronic shelf label, could communicate with a shopper. IoT is because my truck, which is going to deliver my frozen product, I just realized that the truck is on the way to my store, but the temperature in the truck is plus 5 degrees. I cannot accept this good. I cannot accept this product. How will I change that? How can I anticipate that? Mobile devices, store execution, as an example, is one of the key project for many retailers. How to make sure that all this strategy I'm developing now at my HQ, etc., is going to be applied in my store. How to be connected to my suppliers. Here in Asia, it's almost a bit existing, but should be improved. How to share forecasts with suppliers. How to make sure that I get the right information at the right time from my supplier to make sure that that product will be delivered on time in quantity. So connectivity is keyword. So I need to connect my supply chain to the world, externally and internally. Supply chain should be predictive. Predictive is really, dashboards, data warehouses, that's great. But what is the interest today in that fast-changing world, this high-velocity world, to understand what I saw yesterday or the week before? What is important today is to realize what I should sell tomorrow and which are the bottlenecks to not achieve that number. Predictability is anticipating a typhoon in the Indian Ocean. Predictability is anticipating a stock transfer between two DCs because I know that the consumption in that area because of a specific event, whatever, will increase, and I do not have enough product in my DC serving that store, so that region. And predictability is 10 days before to say, oh, you should transfer stock from that warehouse to that warehouse. How to predict waste? Waste reduction is today probably one of the three first topics on any CEO to-do list. Imagine that 42% of the goods, of the food products, are wasted in Asia. This is coming from the food bank numbers. And the average number worldwide is 35%, which is still very high. Just with the waste in China, you can feed Vietnam for free. So waste is today very important. Why? Because it's sustainability, it's fitting with all the trends, but it's also consumer satisfaction. You know, when you sell strawberries which are 5 days old, the quality, the image of the store is not good, but it's also reducing the cost. And predictability is also workforce. We said that salaries are increasing, etc. So at the end of the day, how to make sure that I can reduce that amount of money and make sure that I have the right person in my store at the right time with the right skills. And this is also taking care of my workforce. And the last one is visible. 74% of the retailers today are saying they do not have end-to-end visibility of their supply chain. I recently met with one of the big retailers in the region. They told me, we don't know where the inventory is. We have no idea. We know we have too much, for sure. Our CFO is telling us at every board meeting, but we don't know where the inventory is. So visibility is also end-to-end, is real time, should be, highlighting which are the abnormalities of my numbers, of my KPIs. Reading that I'm doing good is fantastic, but we know. But if the solution could tell me, if my cockpit, my supply chain cockpit could tell me, you will have an issue there in 10 days because of that, and these are the actions you should take. This is a great supply chain. So, in a nutshell, when you look at the retail customer-centric supply chain, there are 7 main areas all retailers should consider. The first one is strategic planning and demand management. Not surprising, we said that demand forecast is the key. And what you can see here, the numbers, is the value, the savings, so what we can generate if we take care of that process, strategic planning and demand management. We can help retailer, 1 billion retailer, numbers are based on 1 billion revenue, to improve their bottom line in between 9.9 and 12.4 million. The second is assortment planning and space management. Remember, more and more verticals, more and more products in the stores, how to manage the space, how to manage the assortment. Speaking about, again, Thailand as an example, should I have the same product in Chiang Mai, in Phuket? Probably not. So at the end of the day, how to make sure that I select the right assortment. Pricing is becoming very important. Of course, the market price is important, my daily price is important, but what is also very important is how to make sure that at the end of my 4 days of the strawberry, which strategy to decrease the price to make sure that I will liquidate the stock without wasting. So this is a strategy today many retailers are considering. Inventory planning and management, that's also really important, how to make sure that my inventory between my DCs, my store, my micro fulfillment center, this is now coming very important, in the scope, how to make sure that I have my products absolutely everywhere. Omnichannel engagement is key when you think that only 7% of conversion rate in food for the most efficient retailers, 7%. So it means that the objective of growing that is key. If I double simply my conversion rate, I double my e-commerce and my online revenue. Omnichannel execution, we spoke about last mile, we spoke about delivering the product, making profit. What is the future of home deliveries? No one's making money. And this is why companies like Alibaba, JD, Amazon are opening stores. What they do, they want to transform the stores into A, micro-fulfillment center, and B, click and collect points. So because doing the delivery is huge cost. And the last one, of course, is considering real-time visibility, orchestration of everything. Don't think about silos, break the silos, work as a team, work as a project, and supply chain will be much, much more efficient. So, having said that, what to do? What to do when you want to transform the business? Technology is there to help. Technology should not be a driver. The driver should be the consumer. The driver should be the strategy. And then the technology is strong enough today to adapt itself to the strategy, to the channels, and to the consumer. Just a couple of topics, but create data-driven, personalized customer experience. This is not necessarily the promotion, but this is starting from the assortment. In that store, in that area, in that region, in that cluster, which are the products I should have and how should I organize my assortment, not based on my supplier's customer decision tree, my consumer customer decision trees. Today, the technology is there to consume directly loyalty data and to report customer insights and to make recommendations based on customer behavior and customer preference. Create end-to-end collaboration, engaging with wide ecosystem. The collaboration between retailers and suppliers should be reinforced. This is a way to avoid any future disruption. When I see the example of Europe, collaboration between retailers and suppliers is 2% of commercial conditions. That's it. Data, they monetize the data. Monetizing the data is a nonsense. Why should I monetize data coming from my customer? And my customer is the most important person for suppliers and retailers. Knowing the customer is key for both. I think it's better to invest time to really develop strategies, maybe products. In the 80s in Europe, I was working on the trade marketing. Trade marketing at that time was creating specific product for a specific retailer. Things have totally changed, but this is coming back. Why is Nike now developing shoes with 7-Eleven in the US, in Japan, and these shoes are branded with the 7-Eleven colors? You like, you don't like is not the problem, but the fact is personalization and collaboration between a supplier and a retailer. And as I said, fast decision making, using KPI as insights to make decision. We are moving from the world which was read and react. I'm reading what I saw yesterday, what were my issues, and now I'm trying to fix them. No. Predict and pivot. These are the two keywords: how to predict, how to pivot, and how to move into that. Each core capabilities really is driving value. So that's just an example of a couple of processes retailers have to think about: the core, the extending, and the transformation. So starting the transformation is starting with understanding the customer and bringing them into the loop. And this is key. And by the way, when you look at what Retail Information System is saying, they said in January that 2021, so for those that survive and thrive, technology will be, I would say must be, but at the heart of all part of the business. This is the way to survive. And maybe it's not a negative message, but it's really to say the technology is there, everything is there, supply chain is there. You have huge professionals in supply chain which are ready to bring you through this transformation journey. And I will just end up with one quote from Sir Richard Branson. Understanding the customer is exceeding what they want. And I think that this guy, he did what customers were expecting. And it's probably my conclusion of this presentation. Think about the customer and bring the technology to put the customer at the heart of your supply chain.
Nicolas, thank you so much for that excellent presentation, and I think some very, very deep insights into what is happening in the retail industry. And of course, we are also the actors and the players in the retail industry, which is driving some of these complexities and changes. But there are a couple of questions I will come to from the audience. But one of the things that you have emphasized continuously is partnership and collaboration,
yes.
Building this ecosystem. Now, you have focused very much on the retail engine of our living, but what about the supply chain players, the service providers? You talked about the grabs, you talked about the partnership with delivery, but what about the bigger picture in terms of the service providers, the international links, the carriers, etc.? Are they moving at the same speed as the retailers, or are they going to be the bottlenecks? This was one of the questions from Pierre Stan, who's saying, where are these the bottlenecks that we will see constraining the retail to grow at the speed that you have been indicating?
This is an excellent question. All these third-party logistics, I think we have to make a difference between the big players such as, I don't know, DHL, Merckx, etc., and the last mile delivery, which is a big concern today for retailers. When we speak about the big organization, they can definitely exchange, the data in real time. And today with the 5G coming, that will be real time. As an example, at Yonder, we are working with most of them. So DHL, etc., are working with us, and some of our clients are using a so-called control tower, to track really all the logistic routes across the globe. Is it airline? Is it vessels, etc., trucks, etc.? And they can see everything in real time. So it means that if something could happen, so let's say, as I said, there is a storm, a typhoon in the Pacific Ocean, all of a sudden the delivery will be 10 days late, and
right.
The technology is there to help to react and to avoid any disruption in the supply chain. With the Suez Canal, that was a very good example.
Right.
When we look at the last mile delivery companies, I think that this is a natural trend today. They have system, to track the delivery, etc. And the collaboration with the retailer should be really how to reduce this cost and how to make sure that they have availability. Because sometimes, we also have to consider that these guys, they are facing huge growth, and sometimes it's difficult to manage the growth. So collaboration should be there on sharing supply chain costs, maybe having fulfillment delivery centers. So look at Grab today in Singapore. They have, I think, 20 small warehouses where they do micro fulfillment. So it means that some of the limited number of products, of course, are available within 1 hour.
Right.
And this is the area where collaboration should be. But collaboration is not only a solution, it's not only technology, it's
right.
also mindset.
Right.
Sitting together and trying to fix things.
But Nicolas, again, Pierre Stan is director of the SimTech A-Star, and he asked exactly the question, is it the last mile, is the bottleneck, or is it somewhere else? And my question to you is, everyone's trying to promote the control tower to achieve the visibility, the predictivity, and all the stuff that you very, very eloquently presented. But where should a control tower be? Who should control it? Is the shipper? Is the receiver? Is the third-party logistics? Who is driving the control tower? Because if a retailer hasn't got that control tower in his power domain, is he going to be handicapped by the breakdown in the three keywords that you are highlighting?
Yeah, good point. Very good point. It's a sharing responsibility, and this is why I'm saying that collaboration is a mindset. It should be a reality, because if I'm the retailer and I see that my last mile is getting late, and if I have no action or control of that, this is where probably things are not working. So the idea would be that who is responsible for which part of the supply chain, and we can have one global control tower as an example, but how to exchange data in real time, how to create immediately a collaborative area where I can call, discuss, have a Zoom session, whatever, with my supplier, with my third-party logistic, to try to fix things. This is where speed is important. The technology is there. The technology exists. We just need to accept that my supplier, my third-party logistic, as an example, will have access to my control tower, and I will have access to his control tower, which can be the same, by the way.
Let's refer now to a moment to the poll, Nicolas. There's some interesting findings here. We see that knowing the customer scores high, improving efficiency in the e-commerce scores high. But again, it comes back to the point we were just saying, improving logistics operations is also one of the high considerations. And again, we as you mentioned very clearly, data is so fundamental, and control towers today, even though people are promoting control towers, most of it is fed manual data. It's not real data, and people are camouflaging this control tower as being the end all be all. That is one of the smoke and mirrors, if you like, of the situation. We must
absolutely.
What is your message there, Nicolas?
Yeah, doing manual things in the world of real time is a paradox. So anyway, so first, we are seeing that today on the market. There are plenty of logistic projects coming from retailers, but even I would say some suppliers, CPG companies, thinking about direct to consumer business. Even if it's embryonic today, they are thinking about that. So we see that need for advanced logistic, advanced operation, advanced warehouse management, reducing the cost and making and increasing the efficiency. Efficiency which should go up to workers. It's not only a question of having a pallet at that slot, but it's also who are the right workers at one point.
Right.
Now, to your point of data, yes, doing manual things for control tower is a nonsense, because it is everything but real time.
Correct.
As I said, the technology today exists. The concept of data lake, the concept of data cleaning, automatic data cleaning, thanks to artificial intelligence, more machine learning in that case, exists. This is something we at Yonder are promoting through the platform. Stop doing data warehouse, stop investing massive amount of money in data warehouse. We consume the data, the raw data, and at the end of the day, the technology is there to automatically clean the data and prepare the data. Yes, 10% of the data will be missing. Yes, but we'll be speaking about 90% of accurate, clean data, which can be transformed into insights.
Right.
So think about really this new technology. This is existing. Microsoft is having that. We are having that. So this is really so-called, data doctor somewhere. I don't know if it's the right word, but I consume the data, I clean, and I transform. And knowing the customer, I remember a couple of years ago, not that far away, but I spoke with a retailer and he said, oh, yes, we have all the loyalty data for the last 5 years. We have everything. Cool. What do you do? When it's our consumer birthday, we send them a voucher of $10.
Right.
What a waste.
Yeah. Okay. We have about 6 minutes to go. So I invite the audience to write in any questions. because there's some very interesting points. But while we're waiting for that, Nicolas, I'd like to address another big aspect that we are seeing. You are talking about now some very advanced retail thinking, retail concepts. But the knowledge gap between these high-end concepts driven by technology and what is happening downstream is becoming bigger and bigger. You talk about data lakes versus databases. You talk about data cleaning. You talk about speed. You talk about connectivity. People out there are still living in the world of ASN and EDI and that sort of knowledge, thinking that the traditional legacy SAPs and Oracles are really still the engine of the backbone. But things are changing, and we're not without upsetting anybody in that field. Do you think that knowledge gap is one of the critical factors that is creating the gaps, and how do we try and achieve a convergence of knowledge and skill moving forward?
Yes, interesting. Yeah, we are seeing that gap, and sometimes we have to be careful. We are there, we want to go there. The step is too high,
right,
to climb in one step. So the idea is really to put things on paper and to think about the strategy and where should we start from. I think that there's a lot of willingness, to change, to transform the supply chain, etc. But the execution is a bit complicated. Don't be alone. So work with companies doing that. Get advice from peers. Get advice from consulting companies. Get advice from supply chain vendors, etc. We have achieved many digital transformation, and we know the best practices. And the first is to have the willingness, and the second is to say, okay, what are the best practices? How can I generate quick wins to really start the process? Will the journey take, I don't know, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? I would say it doesn't matter. The most important is to fill the gap. But think about one key element, our consumer.
Sure.
They are changing at the speed of light.
Right.
And, bankruptcy of retailers like Toys R Us was a total surprise. And all of a sudden, for other reason maybe, but this is how can they adapt their model to the consumer? And the consumer are changing. So start now, think about the consumer, what you can do now, and then you will build the future later. Forecasting, replenishment, inventory efficiency are the keywords.
Excellent. Nicolas, we've got a couple of minutes left. I just want to touch on one more point, as I don't see many questions coming in. It is about cost. Cost is always, I think, frightening people, because they say we can go on this journey of engaging consultants and software, etc. is going to be a long end. But unfortunately, you have to address that point. But particularly in this current situation where people are now cutting back, there's cost cutting, cost control, it's even more difficult. What is your message about costs and the structures? Because we have SaaS solutions, PaaS solutions, all these type of things. What is your message in terms of the financing and funding of a transformation journey?
Transformation journey could provide quick return on investment. I can tell you, we've been very surprised with some of our clients. As an example, reducing the inventory by 2, dividing by 2. Sorry, and this is a massive return on investment. So we should not think about the cost as just an investment in SaaS, in services, in consulting, etc. But I think, again, the collaboration with all the ecosystem in transformation is there. And when we look in the region, there are massive projects now. Yes, investment is huge, but expected return is double, triple. So this is a CFO discussion. What investment now? It's not like 10 years ago when you had to invest in a new server. It's totally different.
Right. Great. Thanks very much for that question. We are out of time. Nicolas, thank you for that presentation.
Thank you for inviting me. That was great.
And I'll hand you back to Bob, who will close the session. Bob, are you around?
Yes, I am. Yes, I want to give my thanks to Nicolas for that really fine presentation, and Joe, of course, for handling the Q&A in a great fashion, as always. So again, thank you very much, and we'll see you at the next presentation.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you.